Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I want to talk to you guys about what it means to turn around your center in the backswing and some of the misconceptions I hear from players that I see for the first time. And like always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to see more golf related content. Let's get into it. Now, a lot of the players that come to see me for the first time have the idea that they have to transfer most of their weight into their trail leg as they bring the club back, and then shift their weight into their lead side as they come into impact. And this idea stems from the conventional method of swinging the golf club. And it's not necessarily incorrect, but for the majority of players out there, they tend to take things to the absolute extreme. So typically there's two kinds of movements that I see from players who have this idea. So the first is when their lower body moves away from the target and their knees also move more so behind the golf ball. The second kind of movement is where the upper body or head moves excessively away from the target as opposed to their lower body. So here's an image of one of my students that demonstrates the first movement. So in relation to where he started, you can see that the lower body moved more away from the target and his knees moved more so behind the golf ball. This image is an image of my online student who is demonstrating the second movement, where his upper body or head would move more so away from the target as opposed to his lower body. When it comes to turning around your center, I just want to make sure that the player doesn't move any parts of their body too far away or even too far towards the target during their backswing. So if I were to draw a line kind of on the edge of my right leg and a circle or box around my head, so if I were to take this club back, you'll notice that my body kind of stays mostly from where it started from. Okay, so if I were to do this, kind of like what I demonstrated in movement 2 or what my student demonstrated in movement 2, or if I did something like this, something that my student did in movement 1, that would tell me that there's parts of the body that are moving too much right and left. And we have to make sure that in order for you to better control the low point of your swing, that those things don't happen. So if you are a player that demonstrates movement 1, then the cause is because your hips have moved too far away from the target in your backswing. So what you need to feel is that as you take the club back, the hips move more laterally towards the target instead. Now, we only want to do this to a point where your hips move ever so slightly towards the target, but since you've gone the other way for a long period of time, most likely, it will have to feel exaggerated. So after applying those same feelings to his swing, you can see the difference in his body position. So even though he felt like his hips were really towards the target, you can see that he's actually fairly centered over the ball. So if you are a player that demonstrates more of movement 2, then the cause is most likely due to the fact that your upper body stays too forward bent for too long in the backswing. So the feeling that you need to have is that your spine extends more, or that you feel like you're bending more backwards in your backswing. So again, we want to do this up to a certain point where just your head stays mainly in the same spot where it started from. So here was the difference with my online student after applying those same feelings. So you can see that his head actually stayed relatively in the same spot from where he started from. So a really great drill that I like to give to a lot of my students to help them feel what it's like to turn around their centers. You'll just need 2 alignment sticks, or you can just use 2 golf clubs as well. But you'll place 1 stick or golf club right between your feet, right in the center of your stance, and you'll place the other one right across your chest like this. Okay, so you're going to get into your posture, and the idea is as you keep your head relatively in the same spot, you're going to ensure that your trail pocket moves slightly more towards the target in your backswing. Okay, so as you turn, if you're doing this correctly, the stick that's across your chest should be directly on top of the stick that's on the ground and also running parallel to it. So if you were someone that was demonstrating more of movement 1, you would look something like this. So the club is not parallel to the club that's on the ground. Okay? If you were demonstrating movement 2, you would look like this. Okay, you can see that the stick is positioned more so to the right of the stick that's on the ground. Okay, so if you can follow and use a mirror to make sure that your head stays relatively still as your trail pocket moves a little bit towards the target, kind of like this. This will give you a really good sensation as to what it can feel like to turn more around your center. So in summary, if you are a player that demonstrates more of movement 1, you will most likely need to feel your hips moving more laterally towards the target as you take the club back, as your head remains still. Now, if you are more of a player that demonstrates movement 2, you will need to feel a bit more of an extension or a backwards bend in your back, just so that the head remains relatively in the same spot from where it began. Thank you so much for watching, and like always, if you need some further clarification on anything, please leave a comment down below. You can follow me on Instagram at Jonathan K. Moss. But other than that, I will see you guys on the next video.